Hi, this is Paul Mulder from Maya Resources, the Managing Director and Founder. What we're going to go through today is nation building in Papua New Guinea and delivering on strategy and how we're going to realise value from that strategy. As normal, the disclaimer that you can read at your own leisure. So Maya's strategy, the sum of the parts is significantly more than the whole. We've been saying this for some time, but I will now go into a little bit more detail. Exposure to the key commodities for nation building with ready markets is actually one of the key planks to what we are as a company. These sum of parts being significantly more than the whole, what we mean by that is if you look at each individual company, sub-company that we've set up, its capitalisation on a very prudent forward EBIT multiple look through is far greater than the entire market capitalisation with all of these assets combined. Therefore, part of this strategy was disaggregation. We achieved that firstly through value being delivered with the Dighton Resources being spun off on the TSXV in February 2021. The disaggregation strategy is really focused around giving the customers, giving the investors, whether they be institutional, whether they be retail, private, the opportunity of being exposed to pure play investment. We've taken the feedback from the market that it is sometimes hard to understand these smaller companies with multiple projects, but the way we like to break it down is we have very simple, well-advanced projects that don't require any further exploration or permitting risk. They're actually ready for construction, and that's what we're going to take you through today, and we'll through that give you a sense of the deep in-country experience and relationships we've established along the way in the several years we've taken to get to where we've got to. So from a pictorial point of view, you can see the sum of the parts on the left there. That's in 2020, everything under Maya Resources. Dighton was the first spin out in February of 2021. Maya Iron and the lime and cement business are both slated for disaggregation this year, and we've appointed the CEO already for the mineral sands business, and we expect to make a forthcoming announcement shortly in relation to the lime and cement business. The power and energy side of Maya will maintain and stay in Maya, and we'll also be looking for other power generation opportunities to expand that portfolio within the Maya Resources entity. So delivering on our strategy with Dighton. Dighton raised $10.5 million. It was valued at some $38 million. It commenced trading on the 24th of February. Very highly prospective portfolio of copper and gold assets. After Maya combined these assets, went through a RTO process and also raised the money, we were still able to maintain some 43% of the new company, which we plan to do an in-species distribution spin-out to the Maya Resources shareholders in accord with the escrow agreements that TSXV have set. The key here, though, is that previously the brokers were assigning only about 7% of Maya's total share price to the copper gold assets. With the listing now, we can see that there is a multiple of value delivered now for Maya shareholders, and drilling hasn't even yet commenced. Once drilling commences on these highly prospective areas, we expect to see that multiple increase significantly. Unlocking some of the parts, the next phase. Pictorially, you can see Maya started with a share price of around 40 cents. In total, pre and post listing, we've spent some $55 million in advancing these three projects you see in energy, iron and industrial sands, and cement and lime. And for whatever reason, the share price now is sitting below the list price at a market cap of $60 million. The objective of this slide simply is our disaggregation will unlock future value. And when you look at the NPV or an EBIT multiple of any of these projects, you can see that these far exceed the current market capitalisation where Maya is today. What is between that being realised And where we are today is simply funding. As we've said, we've got the construction contracts in place, we've got the approvals in place, so we are really ready to go. We're now housing and manning up executive leadership teams for each one of these portfolios that we will spin out to realise this value. If you have a look at the projects where they're located, I'd point your attention to the Central Cement and Lime as our flagship project. This is a project we talk about could easily be $1 billion in value with very prudent forward-looking EBIT multiples. Nothing like what developing country EBIT multiples are. Nothing like existing developed countries such as Australia, but applying something which would be more appropriate for a developing nation. We still are and we still see an opportunity to be $1 billion business. Key for us here is great location on the coast, cheap for development, cheap for operations. The Central Cement and Lime project, very, very low cost, coastally located, world-class manufacturing plant for PNG and right next to export markets. As I've mentioned, 96 million EBIT multiple applied to that is a very large number. It's PNG's first Central Cement and Lime integrated plant that has clinker, quicklime and cement. We have a very, very large resource, 386 million tonnes. We will phase the development of quicklime first, clinker then cement. We have ready markets in PNG and also the export markets. These are both already established and growing. We're not factoring growth for our project to be economic. The existing market and our ability to penetrate those markets, disrupt those markets, is what we've actually factored into the economics. We haven't factored any sort of expansion to take advantage of that very large 386 million tonne resource. That strategic location I'll show you in very short order in another slide, but the proximity to markets is key here. Mining lease has been granted, environmental approvals in place. We have the construction bids received. This is one of the construction bidders' artist's impression. We have full landowner support, a very, very attractive facility where we start with the quicklime first, then we migrate to the cement and clinker. With the quicklime kilns, we're looking to start with 2 kilns. We believe there's adequate demand within PNG and abroad to support those 2 kilns. And from that perspective, EPC construction bids have been received and just recently updated, as recent as last week, so as to ensure that we have the most up-to-date pricing and technology being utilised. As they say, a picture tells 1,000 words. The orange there is where quicklime is currently being imported into PNG from Thailand and Malaysia. It's a no-brainer that we are going to be supplying PNG all of its quicklime needs, which exceeds a single kiln. But also you'd be aware potentially that there is also imports going now from Southeast Asia into Western Australia. So we also see a great opportunity for us to disrupt and compete in that market, but also the Pacific. And indeed, since we've had the mining lease granted, the amount of inquiry out of the Pacific and East Coast Australia has been significant. Similarly, if we look at the cement and clinker markets, a lot of production's coming from Vietnam and Japan into PNG because they don't have any source of their own. So we have a captive market there that will service in Port Moresby and Lae particularly, but also the East Coast of Australia has a great opportunity for us to be 3 times closer to a much more responsive supply chain, and 3, the quality is just as good. It's a Portland grade, low alkali style of clinker cement we can produce. So if we now look at from an iron industrial mineral sands perspective, we have a near-term cash flow project with full iron ore exposure. The DFS was released in 2020 last year, very low capex, $21 million, a fully funded solution in place, producing multiple products, vanadium titanomagnetite being the primary, with zircon and construction sands also, and we have offtake in place for that vanadium titanomagnetite. From a perspective of value, the DFS had a 131 million US NPV, 25 million EBIT for 15 years. Importantly, that was based on a $66 a tonne iron ore price, discounted from that price for our product, which was a 57 to 59% iron. Since then, look at the iron ore price. The chart says everything. We have not upgraded or factored in the DFS economics any increase to that $66 a tonne price. So we get into production by the end of this year, all of that is upside in the economics and revenue and income for Maya Resources. It's a very simple mining, typical clearing, grubbing, business, excavate, rehab, screen, magnet spirals, road barge, transship customer. The diagram shows you it's very, very simple. Standard mining process. The construction camp is built. We're looking now for the finalisation of the pilot plant, and we will embark upon that this year and hopefully be into the market by the end of this year. From an energy generation point of view, just going back, PNG government's vision is to increase the electrification from 13% to 70% of the population. We all know that leads to GDP growth, which leads to cement consumption, which leads to industrial activity. So at the core of this is there is a great opportunity with this plan that is being supported with billions of dollars of aid money for that to occur. So what are we doing to contribute to that? Well, we're looking to provide Lae a 52.5 megawatt power station right next to the industrial hub of the country at the Lae Western Tidal Basin. This plant will use the latest technology, which will far surpass what's being used in Lae at the moment, with a huge reduction in sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide and particulate matter, as well as a reduction in the carbon footprint. And that red line you see on the chart there is our byproduct, co-generated steam that is going to service local businesses that currently, for their steam needs, for chilling, refrigerant and cooking, they're burning diesel. This plant has scalability to 200 megawatts. This gives a 3D animation impression of what it will look like, but a PPA has already been submitted. We've got a heads of agreement with Kumul Petroleum, government-owned corporation, for dual fuel facilities. We have environmental approval in place already, the local university joint venture to support us on renewable and sustainability, the site lease with the PNG Port Sustainable Enterprise, and the memorandum of understanding in place with the Morobe government and also the Gulf Provincial Government. Ministerial and National Executive Council approval has also been received. So now it's a matter of then implementing those conditional approvals so we can get a PPA now signed. We see this as a very, very important platform to increase the prosperity of Papua New Guineans, while still having a very, very clear focus on the environment. So from our point of view, what we're looking to do is we'll continue to develop a pipeline of energy and power projects. We'll leverage off the Lae EEP and carbon offsettings and emission reductions. To be very clear, our modern boiler takes up to 50% renewable biomass. We have the ability also to add solar, and we're looking at other forms of carbon capture there, as well as some carbon offsetting. So I think that there's a great opportunity for using our deep country experience and with the various state-owned enterprises and the government initiatives and the various other governments around the region who want to support electrification of PNG. We see this as a great opportunity to really be one of the kickstarts and a contribution to a diversified energy mix. Just in conclusion, as founders of the company, we're very aligned with shareholders. We've still got some 40% of the company, so whatever we're doing looking for the benefit of shareholders, but also importantly of the key stakeholders and landowners in PNG. We're looking to make a contribution and benefit wherever we are. You can look at our own profiles separately to this, and we have a track record of delivering on projects that are a lot larger than this. But suffice to say, we're in there with significant skin in the game. If you'd like to know anything more, please visit Maya Resources, www.mayaresources.com. Thank you very much for your time.